Good morning. I hope you are well. My name is Anna Maria Marras. I'm a research fellow at University of Turin, and I'm also ICOM Italy Digital Technology Coordinator and Avicom board member. So firstly, I want to say thanks to organizer to invite me today. So I'm very glad to be here and also to attend because I'm going to speak regarding how do closed museums open up to the public through the media. So we are going to discuss about this in this presentation. So as you know, in 2020, starting 2020, things are changing, also for museums. There are a lot of surveys and reports regarding the survey situation in museums. Last years, I analyzed more than 30 surveys and reports conducted by different institutions around the world. And, but I want to discuss with you regarding how the things are changed in digital way also for museum during COVID time. As you know, as ICOM definition, museum is a no-profit permanent institution in the service of society and its development, open to the public, which acquire, conserve, research, communicate, and exhibit the tangible and intangible heritage of humanity and its environment for the purposes of educational study and enjoyment. For this reason, digital technology are very important for museums, especially for manage the heritage. So you know the several software and program are also online platform are very useful to manage the heritage, to preserve the heritage with a right policy of conservation, because digital is not safe, it's not always safe. So we have to have a right policy to conservation our digital heritage. Of course, to communicate, and COVID-19 demonstrate how it's important for museum, the communication, also the online communication, educate, of course, educate to heritage, to our knowledge is very important, and last but not least, inclusion. So museum has to be inclusion space. As you know, the definition of museum that I showed you before is changing. In next conference in Prague in August 2022. So, you know, we are going to change the definition, so there is a new modality. So ICOM will present the proposal of new definition in next General Assembly. But technology also are very liquid. As a famous philosopher, Luciano Floridi, says, we live in the infosphere, so we are also not only life but on life. So our life online. So and we have to also combine the separate way to be life. But of course, the technology are liquids, changing rapidly, so it's very risky sometimes for museum to adopt one or other technologies, especially for some reason. That there are some, so I want to point out some of them. There are many others, of course. Skills, so museum need updating, training, skills, so as digital skills, so we need to do a lot of training continually. Staff, so sometimes museum have to improve their staff, the internal staff, and also the external collaboration with the expert in some technologies or other, or in digital topics of museums. and of course not financial. So especially small and medium museum has a financial problem, they have a low budget, so it's very difficult for museums to stay updating and with the new technologies. We know that before COVID-19, the digital museum invest more than on-site digital technologies, as a video wall, interactive monitor, and a special application, as we saw also in the IDEALCO presentation. But according to that UNESCO study regarding also digital and museum, the development of virtual museum as well as online videos or podcasts has been often the subject of critical analysis, with some researchers believing that they merely replicate the experience in situ without really taking into account all the new possibilities offered by information and communication technologies. So sometimes museums not use completely the possibility of the technology. So this is also a very interesting topic. According to the Museum Around the World, the Face of COVID-19 report by UNESCO, in 2020, 84% of museums were closed for short to long time due to COVID-19. And in 2021, 43% for museums are closed from the short to long term. So it's very huge data. This is, I want to show you another report, very important. So as I mentioned before, the institution product national, international, product a lot of report and analysis regarding museum and COVID-19. This is the museum professional and COVID-19 follow-up survey by ICOM. This is the third survey because ICOM conducted three surveys regarding COVID and museum. As you can see in this chart, museum improve the digital activity. 34% of museum, 23% of 20% of museum increase after the lockdown the collection line. So build a new website or new digital library or try another way to put online the collection. 16% increase online exhibition. 21% live events, learning programs 18%, more 19. 17, they increase the newsletter, so send more newsletter to the public or to the registered users. And this is a very important thing. More than 31% of museums increase their social media activities. And as you can see in this second chart, carry out another report, NEMO report, follow-up survey for the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on museums in Europe. I hope you can see, it's very, sorry, it's very, it's not very big. So museum also increase, of course, social media posts. So in all that surveys, this is very clear. So museum increase the digital online activity, in a special way the social media activities. More museums, some museums open new account, Instagram, Facebook account especially, so they're the most used. And also, regarding not the museum, but regarding the public, what the public museum are most interested in. As you know, as you see, Also social media activities and hashtag, but also video content, for instance, YouTube and Vimeo. We know that YouTube is the most used social platform, so in the world, so more than Facebook on the other social platform. This is very important. Also because as ICOM Italy, ICOM Portugal, and ICOM Czech Republic, we carry out a SAREC solidarity project founded by ICOM, the call HELP, Heritage, Education, New Web Formats, and Free Licensing Opportunities for Dissemination, Co-Creation, and Open Data. And during this project, we also analyzed what the museum do for education online. And the important things that I want to point out that the museum, in most cases, produce video and put on online platform. This is very important things. And also, of course, some educational kit the user and the scholars can download by the website, but the video is very important. It's the most used output, digital output that museums still use. Of course, that online activity during and post-COVID, museum invested more in online activity than on site, of course, because they're closed. But what are these online activities? Some sample. So, for example, virtual or augmented reality platform. Metropolitan Museum realized unframed platforms dedicated on augmented reality. Some museums invest in creating new digital platform for education, as Brera with platform called Brera Plus, and also Fondazione Torino Musei that with Inonda, another platform especially dedicated only for educational digital tools. And of course, video game. Most museums use Animal Crossing, so they invested in this kind of platform, also in collaborative way. Of course, some contents and other virtual reality applications like Mona Lisa Behind. But the important things, so we use the virtual reality. I'm going quickly, maybe because I have no more time. So the word we have to use is phygital. It's not more digital or not digital, because we have to combine digital and physical things. So the experience you have to be both digital and virtual. Real, sorry. And of course, the virtual reality, augmented reality are the right tool to do this, because they using virtual tour, using interactive exhibit, and give extra content are very powerful digital tools for do this. But I skip on this because I'd like to share with you, but we can see later. So, because I think it's a very interesting example of digital, the virtual Curious Alice virtual reality experience inside the new exhibition of Victoria and Albert Museum about Alice. Just last. What do museums do to engage visitors? The only thing is to build an holistic digital strategy. So we have to comprehensive all strategy, all digital strategy in museum. There are one strategy. So I think it's very important. Otherwise, all things are go separate. It's not a good thing. The quality of content. This is very important because the quality, content with high quality is very simple to reuse and to in other applications. So it's very important. Of course, accessibility. Be careful about accessibility. Use a subtitle. Put the audio description, the alternative text. All things make your content accessible is very useful, not only for who have some disabilities, but for all people. Because accessible museum is is understable museum, first of all. Of course, listening to the visitor using surveys, questionnaire, or everything you have to listen and have a dialogue with the visitors. And of course, the last is the open data. So use open data is make museum more accessible, and also is very important to stimulate the creativity. So the creativity community, the creativity and industry, that is very important. So that's all. Very thanks for your attention. If you have some questions right here, this is my email. Well, thank you.